So find a partner, find somebody you probably don't know, or even if you know, talk to them and see which of these products have you used or heard about, and what does each one of them have in common with you.
They all fail is the common thing between all of them.
They all fail, yes, absolutely. They all fail. Did you know that there are 35,000 products launched every year, of which 95% of them fail? 95% fail. And so, if you think about, I think Angie mentioned Blockbuster, let's just talk about Blockbuster for a second. It wasn't ages ago because maybe. 1998 is when Netflix was created. So if that's ages ago, yes. But why there was one single reason why Blockbuster failed. Could somebody share with me what would that be?
Because I think they faced an incumbent dilemma, and they didn't embrace the new technology that was coming out, like streaming and whatnot. Like that was a .com era. They didn't keep up with that.
That's what most youngsters tell me. Anybody else?
I just think like they did not realize when they reached the maturity of their product and like not pivot based on what she said. They did not like embrace the new upcoming technology. They stuck to their vision and like thought this is it.
Yeah.
They were like very stubborn in their mindset, not adaptable.
That was the secondary reason. There was a primary reason. Even before all of that, Netflix was created for some reason that Blockbuster had a challenge with.
I think they feel that they were already in a comfort zone because they have like hundreds or thousands of outlets back then, right? So there's no competitor that can compete with them. That's what they thought.
It turned out, I was a customer of Blockbuster many years ago, and it turned out that you would have to rent a DVD. And when you rent a DVD, when you return the DVD, does anybody know what was Netflix's first product?
They had CDs.
They would ship out.
Yeah, they would ship out. They only tried this in the US, only in the US because they had a connection with the USPS. And that connection helped them ship out DVDs. So they would have one DVD for $10, two DVDs for $17, three DVDs for $23, shipped to your home. When you watch the DVDs, you can return them right in those envelopes, and then you get new DVDs. The interesting thing about this was they were rewarding customers. They would have this monthly subscription fee, and if you return the DVD early, in the same month, for the same price, you get to watch more. So one company was punishing, one company was rewarding customers. And that made the whole shift. Blockbuster today, which was really everywhere, Blockbuster means it was in every block of a city. Now it is in one place, in Bend, Oregon. There's the one store left. It's completely destroyed. While then what you said happened, which is the technology came in, internet came in, and bandwidth came in. That's when Netflix decided, okay, online streaming would be a good idea, because guess what? They made that connection with the United States, but can they make the connection with worldwide? No. So they had to come up with something else. That was online streaming. They went with that pitch to Blockbuster and said, hey, we would like you to consider buying us. Do you know what happened to them?
They refused.
The two founders were thrown rudely out of the Blockbuster office. And that's because of what you said, which is they were too complacent. They were like, we could do online streaming and we do much better. Then what can you do? And that made it very difficult for them to do. And that's the idea of. So let's talk a little bit about products. What is a product? What's the definition of a product? A service, okay, I like that. A solution.
Something that you offer.
Something you offer. Yeah, good, okay.
Something you make from vision to reality.
Something you make from vision to reality, okay. A product is something that people find valuable. It's valuable to the customer. So it could be a product. It could be a physical product like a car. It could be the Empire State Building. It could be a service that you subscribe for. All of these are products because they are valuable to you and you are using that. That's the definition of a product. As compared to a project, what is a project?
Project is more towards the delivery of that product and making it available to the end customer.
The steps
I like that, yeah.
The steps that lead to making or delivering a product. The steps that lead.
The steps required to deliver a product. Okay. Anybody else? Implementation, okay.
It's a process.
It's a process.
rather than being a product.
There's a institute called Project Management Institute.
Yeah.
Project Management Institute's definition of a project is a duration of time that has a definite start time and an end time. And in that you deliver something. That is a project. So it's a duration of time. So people get confused between projects and products. Products are long living. Netflix started in 1998 and it's still growing to a great extent. While if you think about a project has a certain amount of time and then it dies. And then there's another project, there's another project. So you could use projects to deliver products or features of a product. That's one way of delivering products, right? Okay, great. Now, coming back, once you understand this definition, you understand that the idea that most products fail. And so how do you get to the blue ocean of products? How do you make the products not fail? That's where the role of a product manager comes.
So just like going
Yeah.
back on, I just had a question, like I know what the difference between a project and a product is and what a project manager is versus what a product manager does. But like, is the work of project manager just like sort of coordination, administration, keeping the project deadlines up, being wary of the deadlines and like getting the resources differently, whatever. So it's just like overseeing just the execution, like if it's happening accordingly, or it also involves stakeholder management because product manager also does that. So it's like, what's the main difference in how they operate?
Very valuable question. I will cover it soon. But really, anybody know this small little company called Nintendo? Well, it had this small little product called Wii. Anybody played the Wii as kids? I was not a kid, but I played with my daughter Ananya all the time. What was something fancy about Wii? How did it stand up to an Xbox or a PlayStation 360? Does anybody know?
It was low fidelity, the graphics weren't as good, but the user experience was very unique with the motion.
Absolutely, I love that. Go ahead.
I think my brother and I wanted it because of the motion sensing technology,
Yes.
because you didn't have to plug it in and you could,
Yes,
and you
yes.
could mimic whatever actions you were doing.
Absolutely correct. If you think, you have something.
You have to do a lot of exercise. You get a lot of exercise in the week.
You get a lot of exercise to do it. But so think about this whole idea of a product manager's job. While Xbox and PlayStation 360 were focused on one set of customer segment. Let me talk about segment, meaning gamers. Gamers who love playing games and they would spend hours with, and they needed the high-end graphics, they needed the high-end hardware to make that happen, and they needed all kinds of different equipment. They wanted to get to a different set of customers. So the idea of a product manager is to look at the customer and see where is the red ocean, which is that person, the gamer, and find blue ocean, which is find non-customers, find customers that are not necessarily using the gaming system, will never buy it. So who are those? Well, exercise enthusiasts, you said, fitness enthusiasts, absolutely. What about kids? Ananya and I used to play this thing which we would run on a mat and then, kind of measure what's happening. What about, more people that are elderly, that might not have that much movement, but they would be able to still, with the motion sensor, do certain things and they don't need to learn anything. Because learning is a big thing. Like, learning how to use the console is tough. And so by using something that's just easy to use, they found a new set of customers. Anybody know this other little tool they have called the Switch? Well, who are the non-customers of Switch? How could it stand the market against Xbox and PlayStation 360, which were the dominant products out there?
I think it was for old school gamers. The Switch.
Old school gamers.
Like the PS2. sister got a Switch. I remember she was so excited. She like certain games you could only play.
It's for like family friendly, like for example.
Family friendly. Could you tell me more?
So for example, like Nintendo Switch, like during COVID, I bought it for like my mom. So me and my mom can do like PLTs or something that we cannot like go out play.
Sure. Sure. Okay.
And the modality that it talks about here, like the handheld game, to take it on your commute or something like that.
Yeah.
Outside the house.
Yeah. People were people that would commute, that would travel. Yes, you could connect it to TV and play like you play Xbox or PlayStation, but imagine now being able to take that same game and be on a flight, be on a long drive. My son's favorite console, we have an Xbox, but he hardly plays this. This is the thing he plays the most, because he can run around with it, he can do whatever he wants with it, he can take it and drive with it. So let's talk about the question that you had asked, that what is the role of the product manager? This is a wonderful, almost a fantastic illustration. I'm going to be sending out to Vaishnavi the slides, but if you like to take a picture, feel free to. This is an important one. And the idea is that to think about the product manager, they understand an idea. Somebody said an idea, right? For a product, you mentioned an idea. They get an idea, or a company gets an idea, and they say, we want to build this. Well, what do the product manager do? They have to find out and understand what the customers, who are the customers that they're going after. How are they going to, what are the kind of needs, what are the kind of challenges these customers have? What are the things that will bring them value? Meaning, looking at solutions that will give them outcomes. And from there, they will do validation. Validation, whether it's going to work or not. Most products fail because they do not do validation. They get an idea, they find out the customer, they find out the needs, they figure out value. I'm going to go build. They have a strategy in place, I'm going to go build it. And when they build it, they fail. What you want to do is validate your assumptions, and then based on validation, you go forward and then decide if this is a product that's going to work or not. Right? Validation is so important that I like to share a story. Would you like a story?
Sure.
Great, awesome. Anybody heard this idea of the Wizard of Oz? You know what Wizard of Oz is? What is Wizard of Oz?
It's a storybook.
It's a movie, yes?
It's evil, the wicked movie.
Okay, all right. It's actually a technique in product management. Anybody know this small little company called Zappos.com?
Yeah.
They sell shoes, right? This is the new age, right? We can still buy shoes at Zapp today. Now Zappos, the way it started, they were having a hypothesis. The hypothesis was, people are going to buy shoes online. Are they going to buy shoes online? At that time, nobody wanted to buy shoes online. They were buying books online, but buying shoes was a big deal. Like, I want to try it. I want to walk in it. I want to be able to feel comfortable, and I want to return and then get a few others. Zappos decided they're going to sell shoes online, and they just had a hypothesis. So the product manager is a person who has a hypothesis, as a scientist. On the left side of the loop, they are being a scientist. How did they validate it? They created this thing called the Wizard of Oz, which is they created a website. They had one customer segment that they went after. Women that were of a certain high income bracket that would buy designer shoes that were greater than about $1,000 each. So this is the market they wanted to go after. If they could please them, they could please anyone. They focused on putting together a great customer support team. That was one place where they spent money. Another place where they spent money was building a website. And that website would just have the ability for any customer to go in and buy a shoe, because there was an inventory of only designer shoes, women designer shoes. And if you buy a shoe, if you order a shoe, and then the owner, like the CEO, gets an email. Hey, I got an order, yay! Picks up his car keys, goes off to a nearest shoe store, buys the actual shoe, unwraps it, wraps it back in Zappos.com, beautiful paper, and then ships it to the client. So in front of everybody, there's a beautiful thing called Zappos.com. Behind the scenes, there's nothing. Everything is manual. The customer support is picking up the phone. This person is going manually buying a shoe and shipping it. That is how they validated it. Spend the least amount of money to validate, and when the idea was successful, they actually started adding more customer segments and more shoes. So that's where you need to have the options, and you need to validate those options. So you're going through objectives, deep dive, target outcomes. This is all the brainstorming that you're doing and working with customers and serving, and then you're getting those validation done. Once you have the validation, it's easy to now go and deliver it in full, and then measure your outcomes. And then based on the measurement, you figure out what you do to adapt. So in the left side of the loop, the product manager acts as a scientist. The right side of the loop, the product manager acts as a doctor. Diagnosing, trying to figure out what's wrong with you. And then based on that, adapting and figuring it out. So that's what they always do. The product is never done. So features are added, and they have to go through this infinite loop called the Mobius loop. Mobius loop is what you do on the left side of the loop is something that you learn, and you go to the right side of the loop. The right side of the loop, whatever you learn there, then that what you do on the left side of the loop. And that's what the Mobius loop is. Now you ask me, what is the role of a product manager? The product manager looks after the whole thing. But see, was there, even before we get to this role, were there product companies like before this whole agile thing started, like mid-1990s, there were all of this different things like Scrum, Kanban, all of these came in. But before the mid-1990s, were there product companies? Companies that had products?
Retail.
Microsoft?
Japanese.
Many such. Each one of these had, for each of their product lines, so for example, let's say Microsoft had Windows or DOS, they had a product manager. The product manager would focus on the left side of the loop. And then, when they want to deliver features, they would ship those bunch of features as projects or a project to a project manager that would take care of the right side. So the delivery, working with product backlog management, working with the technology, understanding what the needs that came from the strategic side now needs to be built, and then it needs to be measured and then adapted. Those kinds of things were done by the project manager. And the product manager would take care of this. Now in 1995 came Scrum. Scrum came with the idea of a product owner. Product owner, the idea is they do both. There's no project manager in Scrum. And so they end up doing both. And that was where this whole mindset started. Is the product manager both on the left side and the right side? Or these are two people? Whenever it's two people, there's a lot of challenge in communication, in collaboration. Whenever it's one person, it's easier. But then if it's a big product, it becomes a challenge. So there's pros and cons. Okay? So now the way to look at this is the HBT model. The H is the product manager is working with the customer, the user, understanding the human behavior, understanding the human needs. The business side, they're working with stakeholders. Internal stakeholders could be people that are funding the product. Maybe there are some technology people. They are the people that they would be interested in the product. Those are stakeholders. So they would talk about competitive analysis. They would do product road mapping. That's all happening in the B, business. And T is working with technology. Cool. Everybody clear on this idea? Where do you want to be? Have a conversation for about a couple of minutes with a partner and see where would you like to be and what would you like to do if you were given an opportunity. Product manager, project manager, product owner, what would you like to work on? Talk to each other. All right, everybody got something that they want to share? Okay, I use this version called the pop-up. You're not going to be able to pop up because you've got these things which are really uncomfortable for you to pop up from your seat. So instead of a pop-up, you're going to just raise your hands. And if two people raise their hands, it gets cut down. So one person at a time. And if two people do it, you both have to put their hands down. So that's what we call a pop-up. So who wants to pop up first and answer something? We've got a winner.
You get a piece.
What do I, what we discussed.
Yeah.
Amber and I both said that we wanted to be product owners because you can almost kind of drive the innovation and be like the leader that kind of, says that, oh, let's do this, and then others figure out how you would achieve that goal.
Fantastic. Any others?
Depending on the nature of the project or the product, so if it's a relatively small one, maybe we could be the product owner overseeing the entire thing.
Yeah.
Otherwise, if you're good in strategy and conception and ideation part, so then you could be a project manager to be on the left side of the loop. But if you're good at the execution part and good with communication and stakeholder management, perhaps you could be the
Special seats for you, right here.
perhaps you could be the product manager.
Yeah.
Be on the right side of the loop.
So, Adnan, tell me, in the construction business, what is a product manager? Now that I explained the role, what do they call them in construction?
So I think the closest parallel that you can draw in the construction industry would be a site engineer.
A site engineer,
Yeah.
okay? Fantastic. They take care of the human side too,
Yes. Yes.
the person that's going to stay in the building or use the building as an office building.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you're saying after the construction has been completed and during the operation and maintenance phase of the
Right from the beginning. I'm going to go build an Empire State Building right from the beginning.
Okay.
What would that look like? Envision that. Who's envisioning that?
So the owner of the building is the product manager,
Yeah.
and the GC, that is the contractors and people are the project managers.
Absolutely correct. Yes, absolutely correct. Talking about the product management career, because a lot of you said you want to be a product manager, product owner, it turns out that there is a resource I like to share with you. In the industry, now, most of you know that, this is kind of a tough job market. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Okay. But still, there are nuggets of areas where there is a lot of need. And this report talks about where is the need for product managers. What are the different skill sets that are still valuable? The right side of the loop, you have a lot of project managers doing delivery, doing tactical work. That is not so much in demand. But the left side of the loop, where it's strategic, where you need to understand the customer, where you need to figure out, the blue ocean for your product, where you need to understand how to make your product uncopyable. Those are the places where there is a lot of need. And you need to build those skills while you are in school. So when I deliver, I haven't introduced myself yet, but I am a adjunct professor at NYU, and when I deliver my project management course, I actually focus a lot on building up these skills.
Just in terms of OKRs, how are they different from KPIs?
KPIs, great. You should come to my class. Well, NYU is supposed to be that cool place to be, and then Columbia is supposed to be the smart people. So I'm talking to the smart people here. Okay, so on a very high level, objectives are, I have set up an objective, and I'm going to start tracking those objectives with some key results. KPIs are just something, duration and time, but this is focusing on a certain objective that you want to accomplish. I'll give you an example. I have run 3 half marathons in New York and 1 full marathon. Now, I am not a person fit enough to run marathons, and I always found this to be a challenge, but my objective was to run that. So my objective is that. For about 8 months, I prepared for the New York City Marathon. And in order to do that, I focused on my diet, focused on my weight. I focused on making sure that I can run 1 mile extra every week. So I had a weekly plan. So the key results were my diet, my exercise, and my 1 mile additional every week. My objective was to run the marathon. And to try to start looking at things in that direction, you start to think, okay, that's the objective, here are the key results, what am I going to do in the next 1 month to achieve that? What am I going to do in the next week to achieve that? There is a great book called Radical Focus by a person called Christina Wodke. that really goes deep into OKRs. So if you don't attend my class, you could definitely learn OKRs from that. That helps? Yeah.
I have a quick question. What are these skills usually, like what would we look up, like product manager? Like every single company says they need a product manager, and then when you read the job description, it's like literally the same thing, like work at the intersection of blah, 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 and like whatever. So how do you identify that? How do you identify jobs that ask you to do these things, since these are the ones that people need the most right now, or companies need the most right now?
These are the skills that are on the left side of the loop, where you're thinking about talking to customers, understanding needs, focusing on strategically where we want to go with the direction of this product. I'll share some more examples with you soon. And then how can we go ahead and ensure that we can create a good product vision, we create a good roadmap, and we create a goal to make that happen.
So is it almost synonymous with like a business analyst?
Much more than a business analyst, because a business analyst just gathers requirements. You as a customer have these requirements, have these needs. But how do I discover those needs? How do I go about connecting the needs to the value I'm going to be delivering? What if my product is, one other concept that I'm going to share with you is that most products are commoditized. If your product is a commodity, how are you going to make sure that you still sell your product? So the strategic trade-offs that you need to make. Those kinds of decisions are not made by a business analyst, right? It's made by someone a little bit more senior who understands these trade-offs, is able to work with customers, understand their needs, and understand the value proposition. I run a company called Concepts and Beyond. It's a training and coaching and consulting company. Clients. I'm also actively coaching and consulting with many organizations, and a lot of financial services organizations come to me. Why? Because I have a master's in computer science. I started my career in the early 1990s. The first job I had was a small little company called Solomon Brothers. Solomon Brothers was a niche investment bank with about 4,000 users across the world. And we were building a messaging platform that would send messages across the world in 3 seconds. I can just imagine how big this team might be. Send messages across in 3 seconds. What's the big deal today, right? But this was 1994. You get all the requirements. We would then go off and deliver it. We would develop it. We would release the product. And then we would continue to add more and more features. How big of a team might be? Just a number. 10. In today's world, it might be hundreds. In that world, we had 5. Just 5 people did all of that work. And we were just full ownership of the product and full ownership of the delivery of the product. And that's what we used to do. So the idea of that is, how do you take that idea and say, okay, I'm going to be focused on really working with customers and understanding their needs, and what is the value that you're going to be delivering? That's the focus of the product owner or product manager. Okay, the courses that I deliver, these are the certification courses that I have. They are leadership courses. The QR code goes to my public training schedule. I'm also as I mentioned, adjunct professor at NYU, and I do a lot of research, but focused on personal research, focused on product strategy, product vision, and that's where my full sort of focus is. And why? Because I think there is this challenge, as I mentioned. 35,000 products get launched every year, 95% of them fail. And so my focus is how to not make that happen, and that's where I work with students like yourself, and especially in NYU, and also with more corporate clients, and help them with this challenge. And I want to have great product managers, great product owners grow up and really become really good at what they do. This is why I do what I do. Okay, so how much time do we have? There's a bunch of, couple of things I'll go run quickly. Is that okay with everybody? Do you have any questions before I move forward? I want to make sure we have time. Question, are you going to be okay?
Yeah, we have time. Not a problem.
Okay, so just want to share a few ideas with you that will also help. One was about the products failing. Another one is there are lots of products that are commodities. So every product out there, or most of them are commodities. There is a way to make them uncopyable, and that's what I really wanted to share at the end. Uncopyable meaning something that you could charge a lot of money for, and also get a lot of value to your customer. So let me ask you this. There are two companies, Harley Davidson and Disney Amusement Park. What is something very similar in both of them? What do they sell? Let's talk about Harley Davidson first. Experience.
Community.
Community. Anybody else?
Thrill. Legacy. Thrill.
Thrill. I like that. See, I was told that the students in Columbia are really smart. So that's why you gave me those answers. My typical answer would be motorbikes. Harley Davidson doesn't sell motorbikes. Harley Davidson sells a community. Harley Davidson sells a thrill. Harley Davidson sells an experience. And Honda, which is a competitor, and Vespa, which is a competitor, sells motorbikes. Harley Davidson sells an experience, and that's why they charge the most money for their motorbikes and their apparel and all the experience that they get that community to build. Let's talk about Disney. What does Disney sell? You're on the right track. You're really smart. You know this stuff.
They also sell experience.
An experience, okay. Anybody else?
Imagination.
Imagination. I like that.
They sell dreams.
Dreams. You know why dreams? Because it says magical experience, a magical thing. You walk into a Disney amusement park, the first thing you realize, this brings me to my childhood. You walk on a narrow corridor and it smells of cookies being baked. But there are no cookies being baked. There are cookies that are being sold, but there are no cookies being baked. Then it opens up this whole circular thing, and there's a photograph of Mickey Mouse. You want to stand in line and take a picture. Then it opens up these different places that you go to, these amusement parks that you actually have a trip. Once you're done in the evening, tired, there are fireworks. And you walk out of there feeling you had the most magical experience. And you feel, wow, blessed. They charge the most money in amusement parks. They're the most expensive amusement park. And there is no real difference between that and a Six Flags, except this magical experience that they've built around it. That's the idea of making your product uncopyable. I love to talk about my BFF, my great friend Steve Miller. Steve Miller wrote this book called Uncopyable, which I highly recommend you read. These stories are from him, not mine. And how to create an unfair advantage over your competition. This is a really, really thin book, but a fantastic book if you want to be a product manager. So I wanted to kind of share that with you. I wanted to share one more. Let me actually share one more book, and then give you some examples. The how is in this book, which is the 7 power. There are 7 things that you can adjust for your product to make the product uncopyable. Okay? That's the idea. So again, a great book to share with you. These are the 8 powers that make Netflix uncopyable. And if you notice, I've shared with you those handouts. In the handout, the first page is about today's news about what is Netflix revenue. And if you look at the revenue, it's like way beyond all the streaming platforms that are there. And they made their product uncopyable. How did they do that? That's on page 2. It has 8 powers. The book shares 7. I added one more. People are here from technology management. There's a added power besides the 7 in that book, which is technology, and how they distinguish themselves. So take a look at the page number 2, which shares that with you. This is just a picture of the same idea, but that goes into a lot of depth. They've come up with ways that nobody else can copy and made their product uncopyable. Okay? Anybody use this tool called Canva? Or you use Adobe? Oh my God, why do you use Canva? You know why?
Photoshop.
Because Canva is uncopyable. And they pushed Adobe to start putting out Adobe Express recently. But Canva is uncopyable. The idea is why? What made them? Again, you look at the 8 powers, and the third page goes through a lot of depth in the page that I shared with you, the handout. Makes the product successful. I think for me, and my opinion, take it for what it's worth, right? Remember the Wizard of Oz story? So validating business ideas, because an idea could be anything. Unless you validate it, it's not going to work. I'm going to share again with Vaishnavi this link to a video for a product that's very successful, sold in Amazon.com called Owlet. It's a baby monitor. It's a very successful baby monitor. Watch the video from the time an idea came in until the product got successful. What did they go through, the whole journey? It's about a 10-minute video. It's worth every minute of your life. And the idea is, what made it successful was they kept validating and pivoting, validating, pivoting until they got the right answer. And that's where they became a great product. So, in my opinion, that's the main thing. But if you have a product, so want a real example? I have a product, actually several products, but I'm a product owner of my own company, right? One of the things that I sell is training. There's also coaching. There's also a product that's based in the Jira marketplace that I sell. So that's a technology product. But let's talk about training and coaching. All of these courses, they are commodity. So how do I make them successful? If you come to my course, it's going to be the most magical experience. By doing that, I'm connecting you with the emotional level. Anybody use iPhones? Put up your hands if you use. What if I take away your iPhone and give you the free Android phone? The latest and the best free Android phone, would you take it? Some of you will, okay. Anybody not take it? Tell me why. You have a Stanley Cup. You could talk about Stanley Cup. That's another product out there. Yeah.
I don't know. It's like, I guess it's a status symbol of some sort.
A status symbol, okay.
It's so hard for like data migration to move like from iPhone systems.
All right. Yeah. Anybody Android users? Okay. What if I take away your Android and give you the best, latest iPhone? Why not?
No.
Because iPhone straight away sucks.
It's
not great.
Tell me more.
And the customization which Android gives is great. And
Yeah.
there's so much more options than iPhone. And iPhone also serves as a provider because they make it difficult for you to repair their things.
Yeah.
There's just few of the things which iPhone has. But I could take a class on why iPhone sucks.
Okay. So right there, the product connected you on an emotional level, either Android or iPhone. And then you can go to the next level, which is life-changing. Many iPhone users, they might be in a mall. You might be in a mall, and you might be doing email or setting up a calendar invite, and a person that is working for the iPhone or the Apple might look at it and say, hey, I just changed this person's life. That's life-changing. And my courses enable the frameworks, the tools, the ideas that I share with my students, help them get a job or help them start becoming an entrepreneur. And I have stories of that in my YouTube channel. So the idea is those things, having people get to life-changing. If you can get your product from functional to emotional to life-changing, then your product is going to be successful.